Hey, what's going on, guys? I want to welcome you back to a brand new episode of OBS Plays. We're joining the Match 2 Game 1 session of my Black White Allies draft, already in progress. I'm sorry it skipped to turn 2 3 here. It looks like that's when the video started recording. I'm sure you wanted to see it anyway, so I wasn't just going to throw away the episode. I missed what was in my hand there. There were a few good cards, and it looks like some mana. Obviously, I just tapped down for a Drawn Emissary. I'm facing down a Benefic Infiltrator, and this is a fair race here. I'm going to win this one. Not too concerned unless he has some big Eldrazi coming with the ingest abilities, then you're going to be fine here. He taps out for the 2/1 flyer, and he gets a little Eldrazi spawn with that. That's going to keep my vampire off of him, so this is going to put him effectively ahead of the board. And there's his little Eldrazi Scion. Gonna draw some mana here. So we know he had some spells. Let's see if I fan the hand to the camera one more time. Make sure to take him for the life for that, even though I had already played a land, so it's a little bit late for me. And I'm not sure what I have here. I'm like, oh, why would I do that? That just doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to tap out for this giant vampire. And this is kind of like that dream play line that we're talking about, where it's just like, alright, John's Emissary into this other thing, and that's going to, they're going to combo off of each other. So every turn she's going to get 1 point bigger, at least, as long as my emissary is in play and triggering. And then, she's Bloodbond Vampire is going to be able to take over the ground, and he missed an attack there with Infiltrator, so that was a bad play on him. Now he remembers to attack. There goes my Vampiric Rites, gets ingested. He doesn't really have anything, it looks like. He might, he's sitting on blue, so he could have some responsive stuff, some counter spells, some removal in black. I do think he was in black too. Maybe not. Maybe he's just blue-green, if I remember. So there's the first counter for my Bloodbond Vampire. She's 4/4 here, and there's our blurred-ass hand. So we can see, got the Assassin, we got Night Watch, and mana plenty. But all things considered, that hand isn't that bad, right? Like, I'm going to play a 4/5 flyer this turn, but I'm weary of his untapped mana and my my mana heavy hand. So if he counters my my 4/5, I only have like a 2/3 to back it up after that. So it's kind of like I would just kind of like leave this guy out and just kind of like bait the counter spell is what I'm trying to do here. And this is going to give me a little bit more ground pressure, while not just running my biggest spell that I have in my hand into his counterspell, his 4 open mana. I didn't attack with his vampire there. I think I was concerned about something he may play on like a trick base, because I think he was playing green. And I kind of just like, I don't want to risk the vampire, the blood bond here. I'm just trying to make her as big as possible, and then outgrow his whole team to where she doesn't care about combat. Alright, so he plays the incubator drone. He gets a 2/3, and he gets a 1/1 Scion. So he's just kind of, looks like he's playing the dirtily deck too. And this is kind of where the flags go up, where it's like, okay, I need to kind of put the pressure on. I need to stop dirtling so much, and figure out what I'm going to do to beat him before he plays Eldrazi. So I think I make some, there's more mana. So it's like, what are we looking at here? I think he may have 3 open here for the counter spell. I can't remember. I'm sorry I don't have his lands on camera, but so she has Death Touch, and I'm like, well, I mean, this is where I'm like, I'm kind of, I think I need to start getting aggressive. And this is, I'm representing a trick here. It looks like, like, he's like, why would he attack with his giant vampire if, if he could put all his guys on it and block it and kill it, and that's not so great for me. If he puts Infiltrator and the 2-3 and the 2-1, it's okay. Like, but I'm kind of, opening her up here to some combat tricks. So he's considering. He's probably thinking I might have like a Tandem Tactics or something like that, which would just like destroy any blocks he could do. Like Tandem Tactics is just like right here is just so absolutely devastating. He's like, alright, well I just want to kill this thing. I'm willing to put both cries on it. I think he's just trying to stop pressure. He's trying to like dirtle, right? He's just sort of like, alright, I'm just gonna try and block and kill your things, and we'll trade here, and I'll have some Scions, and maybe I'll tap out for a giant Eldrazi. And, he's pointing the Drawn's Emissary like, I hate this guy. I can't believe you got, another one, or what, you can't believe you're playing this. So, we're in great position here. We still don't know what he has, what his, like, higher end is. And we still have that 4-5 in our hand, so I pass it to him. He must still have the counter mana up if I'm not playing it. He ingests another Drawn's Emissary, so there goes one of them. I tap with a 6/6 and a 2/2 flyer. Now that he doesn't have a flyer himself, like the Drawn's Emissary becomes even like a bigger clock. Like it just will end the game within 3 turns here. That combined with the vampire, obviously. The blood bond. I'm not sure what we did. What do we draw? We're just kind of, turn our card sideways, putting the pressure on. We're not going to wait for him to play a giant thing, right? So he's like, I want to block that. It's like, dude, it flies. Like, okay, so that's, he didn't even realize she flew. That's how good that card is. I think we talked about that earlier. Like, it could not fly, and it would still be just as playable. If it was just a 2/2 on the ground that did that, like, you would still pick them up pretty much just as often. So he just chumped 6 damage. He frustratedly untaps, as we saw. He's considering his options. He plays another 2/3 to give him a science. So look at he's just upset that he didn't draw any of his deck here. Like, that's what this is. And I drew enough of mine to just, push him over. And yeah, he's counting on 3 or 4 cards. He's counting on, whatever giant Eldrazi he has to come into play on turn 5 and take over the game. And if you don't get it, then your whole deck is about, like, what? Making 1/1s and ingesting a few cards that are, on some underpowered 1/4s, and like you don't get there. Like, I've played that deck. You need lots of processors to get there that are doing what you need to do. Especially like the bounce processor. If you have that here, he would be golden, right? If he's like, all right, bounce your vampire and now deal with your emissary, and then your blood bond is now just a 2/2 or a 3/3 for the rest of the game until you only gain life some other way. Like, that would put him right back in the game. And that's a common processor, the 4-mana one. And removal into the I don't want to call it the one that brings back a spell. I forgot what the name of it. Like that card. He's like, even though he's just putting the counter on my creature for me, and there's a Royal Retribution, so we drew a real card here. We're not really scared about anything he can do in combat at this point. And he's just throwing things in front of Vampire just to, draw it out the game. And all his resources just kind of like, they fall apart. Like, it's just like, alright, I gotta just chump and chump and chump and chump. He's just trying to buy time for something. gets a little blue Eldrazi 1/1 that lets him loot a card if it dies. Nothing too fancy. You untap these two very good uncommon creatures. He's at 2. I think he's done here. She's a 9/9. You know, she's a 4-mana 9/9. Like, an uncommon. Doesn't go any better than that, obviously, but what are you gonna do? Alright, guys, thanks for watching. We're gonna wrap this up and go to game 2. So I hope you tune in tomorrow and I'll have that up. And I'll see you then. So, thanks.